Riley Cooper, I mean, like, that dude deserves a statue. I mean, like,
number one on your speed dial.
Hey, I'll tell you what, like, I mean, I didn't know until a couple days after the fact. I was like, wait a minute, is he the MVP or like we got the all-tournament team?
No doubt about it.
And then Ty Floyd, when I struck out 17, and like stole it from him. But I was like, when has a pitcher like been a part of like 5 of the 6 wins in Omaha? I mean, what a performance!
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, Jordy.
Thank you for the time. Yes, sir.
Sure, I'm a little late, boys. At the spring game, obviously, as you can see. A couple of booze cruises here to do. Let's fit. Cruise. Grand salami to the boys. Finally back on track. And I got another one coming. Don't you think I don't? And that's how we roll in Tiger Stadium.
Just watching the spring games that were on television, one thing that jumped out about your squad is your quarterback room is very talented compared to a lot of the league and a lot of the country. I wonder, is it easier to recruit that position when you have talent or when you don't have talent? Coach Kelly, we're official.
Finally,
I'm
get a
telling
chance to meet you. Thought I had to get a private audience with the Pope. There's Jordy.
Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.
Tearing up, answering the question, I thought, my God, if she gets offered this job, she's going to take it.
It's just a crazy, fun time at LSU right now. Isn't this what everybody loves?
From the boot to the east to the west coast, no matter where we at, we live. Open up the phone lines, come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show, yeah.
Let's go! Let's go!
All right.
Big day.
Big day. Nice start.
It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, Jordy.
Thank you for the time. Welcome into a Thursday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here from Click Here Digital on the campus on this Thursday morning. ClickHereDigital.com. You can find us online, bringing you digital marketing, and you can find us and get a direct contact, Jordy at ClickHereDigital.com. Built by RMB Builders every single day. We're going to talk to Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, coming up at 8:15 this morning, as we got a text in to Big Glenn West, Big G, and see if he could come on and give us some of the latest of his thoughts of LSU heading into Florida. Big signing day yesterday for LSU around campus. LSU women bring in the top player in the state in Jenna Richard, who was signed with LSU women's basketball. Curtis Givens out of Memphis signed with LSU basketball. Robert Miller, 4-star power forward, landed with LSU. And LSU baseball, I mean, put together the New York Yankees. I mean, like, good. Lord.
We talked about a little bit about it last night on Mic'd Up, and they were like, I mean, if he gets one of these kids to campus, it's a miracle. You have like the number 2 player, number 3 player, 5 and 6. Ken Caminetti's kid.
Does he think he's going to get any of them?
It doesn't matter. He obviously the fact that you have, not to harp on this, but real quick, like you had the Dylan Cruz come and like improve his draft stock. That's what's playing, and that's why they think that if you can get one of them, the development that's happened at LSU is hard to ignore. And if they're going to sign, you want them to sign with LSU, not anybody else.
You look at it on paper and you're like, good Lord.
1, 3, 5, 6.
Leave some for everybody else, huh?
No.
I mean, this guy
hell of a recruiter.
Cleaning up.
Hell, he got me in the house.
Yeah, good for you, man. That's a good house to be in now.
Made an outside dog and inside dog.
That's right. But just a good day yesterday, I thought, all around for LSU.
McMahon.
Recruiting, big day for McMahon. As the Tigers able to scoop up a couple of big-time players, man. I mean, you're talking about going and getting somebody out of Memphis, and then and then going and getting Robert Miller, who we talked about, that came down to LSU Texas and was able to outlast Curtis Givens is out of Memphis, which LSU was able to take out of the right out from under Memphis's program, and Robert Miller was a guy that it came down to LSU Texas, 4-star forward out of Houston, and LSU's able to hang on and win the war and get you talk about couple of big-time players at campus. This is what it's going to take for Matt McMahon to really kind of start to close the gap on the rest of the SEC. Is obviously guys, like he brought in yesterday in Miller, and of course, being able to go into Memphis, which I thought was very impressive, and grab Curtis Givens right out of the city of Memphis was 2 huge gets for LSU men's basketball, and then of course LSU women's basketball signed the top player in the state in Jetta Richard, who is a 4-star top 100 player. She's out of Lafayette Christian. She scored 32 points in last year's state championship game. She's a scoring machine. She inked with LSU yesterday as well, and we mentioned the baseball team, who they just, sheesh. They cleaned up. They cleaned up yesterday with their recruiting class and the commitment. So LSU football obviously in the mix of game week here for Florida. And this is another, when you talk about the series of the SEC, I think this one is one that drives a lot of emotion. Speaking of, we're going to be in for our Football Friday this week over at the Cook, at Lod Cook Hotel on campus, the LSU Alumni Association, Lauren Giffen and the crew, Joe Carve and everybody over there putting together our last event, and this is going to be a banger. When I tell you some of the heavy hitters, well, first off, we know that the 2003 national championship team is going to be recognized this weekend in Tiger Stadium, which is obviously an all-time team, right? When you talk about the 2003 national champs, but just the personalities that were on that team, that'll all be around this weekend. There'll be a couple of those guys will be in a part of our show on Friday over at the Cook that also feature guys like Brady James, Dwayne Bowe, Jacob Hester, Christian Lacouture, Herb Tyler, Chris Carrier is going to be a part of it. It's going to be a all-star cast. Sam Nader has been confirmed. He's going to be in the room. So Troy Twilley's going to be there. It's going to be a really cool environment to kind of get the weekend going for LSU Florida. We also got an opportunity. We're raffling off a couple of tickets. If you go to our social media, you can find a couple of ways to get into that room if you want a chance to win some tickets to our Football Friday. We'll announce the tickets and the winners later on this afternoon if you want to make it in tomorrow. But you still have a chance to get in and grab those tickets for tomorrow's Football Friday edition of the LSU Florida week, which will be our final Football Friday edition inside Tiger Stadium, with the next game being non-conference and the final game being the week of Thanksgiving. So this LSU-Florida game, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago with the Auburn game. For my generation, Auburn was really kind of the year-in, year-out rival that it always came down to the West. The rival that really started to creep in along with Auburn during that time was Florida, right? Florida growing up, I think for people in my generation it was a bloodbath. Spurrier used to, he used to he would take pride in beating LSU. He loved to embarrass LSU after the way that LSU treated him when the job opened up here. And I believe 84, I think it was 84, that the job opened up and they left him at the airport. Or, excuse me, it was 87 when Bill Arnsparger left. Arnsparger took the job after Stovall. Arnsparger was then hired by the University of Florida to be their athletic director. And LSU was thinking about replacing Bill Arnsparger Steve Spurrier. Yes, they were going to replace Arnsparger with Spurrier after Arnsparger had taken the athletics director job at Florida. Mike Archer was, I believe, a 34-year-old defensive coordinator on Arnsparger's staff. Remember now, Arnsparger would be like a modern day. He was. I'm not comparing the resumes, but he was like a Saban, a Kirby Smart. He was like the defensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator on the undefeated Miami Dolphins Super Bowl team. He was like a whiz, a genius, right? Like when he was coming up, and then he became kind of older, and he was a head coach at LSU. Then he went on to become the Florida athletic director. So it comes down to Archer and Spurrier on who LSU is going to hire. Archer is the defensive coordinator on Arnsparger's staff. The entire team loves him. The locker room loves him. He's young. He gets along with all of the players.
A tale as old as time.
And the other finalist was Steve Spurrier. And rather than telling Spurrier that they were going to go in-house and just hire the guy that they already had on staff, they just left him at the airport in Baton Rouge. Nobody went to go pick him up. Nobody told him. He had to find out through third-hand channels that he wasn't getting the job, and they had offered it to Mike Archer, and this trip over to to LSU was just a big waste of time. Bill Arnsparger's first move that he makes as Florida's athletics director, he hires Steve Spurrier. Steve Spurrier then turns the late 80s and the entire decade of the 90s into just drumming college football. Setting records, offensive records, SEC titles, making it to national championships. Spurrier was the face of college football for the 90s. And one team he took absolute pride in just wrecking was LSU because of the way that they treated him when he became a finalist for the job in the late 80s. So really that's why 1997 with LSU upsetting number one was such a just magical upset and something that people around Baton Rouge and LSU could never fathom, was because they were bullied so much. They were beaten up so bad by Florida. You could just never even almost picture. I can still remember that day in 97 when Florida was coming in here with the number one team. And people were talking about the what-if scenarios, and it was just like, get out of here. Like, that's not going to happen, right? 5 hours later, 4 hours later, you're walking the goalpost down Tigerland. So, then as Saban kind of got here and was trying to balance the power and balance the players, Spurrier was on his way out, thank goodness. Right? Spurrier just he had that famous quote when you can't celebrate the wins, when the wins just become almost a stress test, like it's like a deep breath, whew, we won. Rather than celebrating the wins, it might be time to go. And he took the Washington, now Commanders job, and nearly buried that NFL franchise. I mean, like, he was playing golf at 3 o'clock and, like, thought he could do this college schedule and bring back a bunch of Florida. Like, his quarterback was Rex Grossman. His wide receiver was Chris Doering, his running back. I mean, like, he put the band back together.
It's funny that Saban did the same thing when he went to the NFL.
That's right. Saban did the same thing with Miami. But this Florida series then turned into a back and forth with, if you remember, after Spurrier left, Florida hired Ron Zook, who was actually a defensive coordinator. I don't even know if he was the DC. He might have been the defensive backs coach with the New Orleans Saints. Is where the Florida Gators, because at the time nobody wanted the job. It was wild. Like, they were like going down the list and nobody wanted to follow Spurrier.
Right. And
so finally Zook takes the job, and it was the Fighting Zooks.
It was FireRonZook.com.
It was FireRonZook.com that started the whole thing, but the Fighting Ron Zooks that beat the 2003 national championship team. And then once Florida had enough of Zooker, they ran him out of town, and then Urban Meyer got here, and this LSU-Florida series turned into, literally, it was a back and forth for the next 5 to 6 years that was must-watch television. I mean, it was two just well-recruited, well-put-together teams that were slugging it out, man. I mean, it was great back and forth. Obviously, the 07 game is the one that stands out in this series. But each year, this was, I mean, the 06 is as physical of a college football game as you will find. Florida won the national championship that year. LSU had them on the ropes. That's the day that Tebow did the jump pass. That's also the day that Reggie Nelson annihilated Brandon LaFell on the sidelines. I mean, like, that was the turning point of the game, other than them calling a fumble they called Hester down at the 1 yard line, in which he scored. And on the next play, Jamarcus fumbled the snap on the 1. And that was really kind of if they would have scored there, who knows what happens. But it's as physical of a college football game as I've watched. I mean, it was just some of the hardest hits and physical play. It was like old school SEC football, where, I mean, it was, if you did watch the Florida game, was a Swamp Kings is the name of the documentary on Netflix that covers that time during Florida. It's a terrible documentary. There's no storytelling. All it is just a parade for Urban Meyer.
Fest.
Yeah, it's just it's a PR spin for Urban Meyer to try to get his name out there and talk about these teams. You learn nothing about just kind of the inside of how crazy that time was at Florida. But one thing that does come across very clear, very evident, and that they push is that they had a ton of respect for LSU during that time. I mean, like, they looked at LSU differently, and it's a lot of that stuff that we talk about with Brian Kelly. I mean, it was almost like you want him to go back and listen to the tone of Urban Meyer talking about LSU at that time. He's the national champs. Meyer's the champ. They are the reigning champs at the time. And he's like, LSU just looked different. He was like, I mean, like, their pants didn't fit. They, like, getting off the bus, you were just like, oh my God. You didn't sleep all week. Those were the things that Meyer was using to describe the week of playing LSU. And that is what LSU, in my opinion, has lost and has always had as a part of the formula, no matter who was the head coach. But this Florida series, I think, has, for really kind of that next generation or that next wave of fans, probably like Lloyd, your generation, your age group, Florida's probably the group.
Florida is who I grew up hating.
Right.
Yeah, it was Tim Tebow, it was Chris Leak, it was all of them boys.
Same.
Yeah, like that's where it starts for me, and that's what's so funny about like growing up watching LSU is that it changes every. Like it almost changed whoever you like set your attention to each year. It changed it almost like in like a 5-year window. Like LSU would have different rotating cast of teams that you were like, all right, that's your rival. No, that's your rival. Now that's your rival. Like it's moved on from Florida to now, obviously Alabama, and it's changed. But it's changed multiple times. But Florida is where I grew up. Like I remember like viscerally hating Tim Tebow when I was 12 years old. Like I was like, I can't stand this man. And yeah, that's where it all begins for me. And Stewie's in the same guild.
Yep. I hate Florida.
Yeah.
And Jared Mitchell still hates Florida. He talked about the first time he went into the swamp last night, and he was saying, like, I remember seeing it on the video game. And he's like, I want to see what it's like. I couldn't wait to get off the bus. He's like, I remember going around Ben Hill Griffin like, yep, this is what it's supposed to look like. And he wanted to see Chris Leak throw the football. He's like, I just want to see what it looks like coming out of his hand. And he's like, yep, that's what I thought it would look like. And then he saw Tebow's like, I knew who Tebow was. And then he's like, who's this man over here that's warming up with the quarterbacks who looks like a tight end? And it was a young Cam Newton. That he's like, who is that? And he's like, is he going to play? And so that's how stacked that Florida team was. Was that 06?
Yeah.
Yeah, going into 06, I think he said they got drummed. I think it was like 23-10. But that's how you know that LSU expected different every year. But they knew that the Florida game was going to kind of decide their season much in the way Alabama does now.
The game was
ugly.
A lot closer than that.
Yeah.
It was closer than 23-8. After Jamarcus fumbled on the one, that's when they go 99 yards, and Tebow caps it off with a jump pass. And, the swamp just comes unglued.
It's like Jesus walking on water.
And then the opening kickoff of the second half, Trendon Holiday had it go through his hands, and he chased it down in the end zone and got crushed in the end zone. And they started off the second half with I believe a safety, and it imploded.
Because Florida can go hunt.
LSU. Yes, those teams were. That was the locker room problems that Florida was experiencing at the time. Was that 06 team. They were the ones that really kind of got it going. And
too many alphas.
Yeah, that was a dangerous field that day. They had some dogs on that field. But, the Florida series from there, it really kind of spun into one that, ultimately turned into hate. It turned into both sides kind of almost just really despising one another, capped off by, an ignorant Joe Oliva trying to middleman a game that was affected by a hurricane that Oliva was trying to negotiate on where and when they were going to play this game. I believe this was 2016. Yeah, it was 2016. The game was canceled. The week that it was
going the wrong way.
The week that it was supposed to happen and moved to the end of the year.
Pain.
And LSU had to play at Florida back-to-back years because their AD just, fumbled and dropped the bag.
Got bullied.
Good Lord, just got steered by the Florida AD in the league office. And from there, it really was, since then, it has been almost visceral.
Yeah, they brought the skeleton tiger on the field. Do you remember that? Like Florida did. It was like, what is going on here? It felt like it rekindled a little bit of the old Florida that I remember, where it was, are they trying to, they're trying to elbow their way back into the party whenever they had been somebody that you didn't really consider to think about anymore. And then it became almost through Jeremy Foley and Joe Oliva, where it became this visceral hate again, where you're like, oh, and then and that spun into the games being closer.
Yeah. No, I know. But the field has been leveled, right? Both programs have kind of felt like they were on even playing and the same plane when they were squaring off against one another. The shoe game. The kick in the fog. Is that the same game?
That was the same game. Florida was trending to go to the playoff in that.
Right.
If they win that game.
That probably saves Dan Mullen's life.
If they win that game, they get in the playoff. or they get a chance at the playoff by playing in the SEC championship, which they were already in.
That's unreal.
They had already won the East. He throws the shoe. They lose.
How far did Cade York get that from? Was it 59?
Like 59 or 60.
It's still one of the best LSU pictures I've ever seen.
Oh, for sure.
You can't see anything.
Nothing.
I have no idea how. I guess he just
it's just
routine.
it's
it's somewhere out.
Trust the
Pick it.
process.
Yeah.
Trust the process.
I watched that game with a projector talking about not being able to see a thing because there was not the highest quality, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on right now.
What was this, 2021?
No,
2020.
Was that 2020? Yeah, I think it was 2020. It was COVID.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was working at the jewelry store.
Rob the jewelry store, tell him, make me a
grill.
This man just throwing the shoe in the fog.
The whole top diamond in the bottom rose gold.
Who was the tight end?
It's
Cole
Taylor.
Taylor.
Best play of his career.
That's right. Where's he at? West Virginia now?
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
That's a West Virginia name if I've ever heard one.
Remember our friends over at Pierce Bespoke, a mobile tailor service headquartered right here in Baton Rouge. Host trunk shows across the country with law firms, casinos, universities, high-end hotels, whiskey lounges, cigar bars, and more. They outfit everyone from athletes, politicians. I got a suit the other day, custom made by our friends over at Pierce Bespoke. Grayson Augustus and his crew. Check them out. They'll take your measurements, neck down, offer thousands of fabrics to choose from, and allow you to build your own sport coat, suit, pants, shirt, and more. The delivery time's right around 3 to 4 weeks, one of the fastest in the nation. Each Pierce Bespoke piece comes with a perfect fit guarantee. Check out Pierce Bespoke online at piercebespoke.com. If you mention this show online at piercebespoke.com, they'll take $200 off of your first custom fit. So mention us, The Culotta Show, over at piercebespoke.com to get $200 off of your custom design suit, tailor-made. I can tell you, I just went through the process with Grayson and his team. Very easy. Turnaround time was awesome. Already have the suit. Heading to a wedding this weekend in New Orleans, so I'll have it when I need to unveil it on Saturday night. So a quick turnaround time if you're looking for something here in the winter or maybe into the spring. Check out our friends over at Pierce Bespoke, piercebespoke.com. Tell Grayson Augustus and the crew that you heard it right here on the show. All right, we're going to talk to Chris Blair coming up here regularly, just like we do on our Thursdays edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. So make sure and stick around. We'll ask him about some of his memories here of Florida, going back to that 2016 game where Geis went the other way. He went the wrong way.
You know what makes that 2020 Florida game really interesting?
What?
Dan Mullen sat Kyle Pitts that game because he was getting
That's
him ready
right.
for the SEC championship.
Oh,
That's right.
Sat him out of the game because right before the game they were like, Kyle Pitts is not playing tonight. And everybody was like, is he hurt?
What a break.
Yeah, and we were like, shit, I'm glad he's hurt.
Yeah, what a break.
fire away on that LSU bet.
What a break.
Oh, man. Dan Mullen, don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Hey, he did.
Do you think, was he already on the – he was on the hot seat the year after that, right?
I think he was already on the hot
I think he
seat.
was kind of already trending because the recruiting. Remember, he made a comment about recruiting earlier in the year. He was like saying he made something, and it was like
Recruiting's
was
not that important.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm not focused on recruiting right
It was
now.
something like it was like whoa,
And all
damn.
Florida people were like,
Yeah, it was like, hey.
damn, we want recruits.
Right. You're in trouble, Danny. But the 16 game is when Geis went the wrong way out of the timeout on 4th and 1 on the 4th and goal.
That's when they got in a fight pregame, right?
That's
And
when
Lenny's-
Lenny straps up.
Lenny
before
says
the
he's
game,
not playing.
and then he's like,
Comes out, fights, comes and they give it to him one time in the first half, and you could tell like he is hurt.
He went full Booby Miles.
Like he was yeah, he was living.
trying to make that thing move
It's
around.
gonna be easy.
It's gonna stiff.
He couldn't move on it.
We get it loose, like a
They gave him
NASCAR
one
driver on his
carry.
first lap.
Get him back in the
let's
locker
get it.
room.
Frank was like,
Yeah, right. Get out.
oh, was it Jabbar Jalouk was the running
Yeah,
back? Chris
Jabbar
said.
Jalouk.
He's like,
Get out of here.
Geis-
Next thing you know, he's got the windsuit on. Geis is out there. That was such an ugly.
it's such a weird game.
It was such a weird
It was
game.
so hot.
Hit Tyree Cleveland, I think is his name, receiver, over Dante Jackson, 98 yards.
Yeah.
That's
Like
right.
that was their only touchdown of the game.
That's right.
Right in front of the LSU student section. It was right there. I was like, wow, this is really happening.
Who was their quarterback?
Austin Appleby.
Can't lose to him.
Who?
Austin Appleby. I think that's how you say his last name.
Stewie, that's a hell of a pull.
That's at Apple. Yeah.
I mean,
It's like Appleby.
I would have
Appleby.
guessed that if you'd have given me a million guesses. I'd have never guessed
Me
it.
either.
Austin
I was
Appleby has a win over LSU in Tiger Stadium.
Gross.
gross.
He is the
3-star.
he's working at UAB right now under
Wide
Trent
receivers
Dilfer.
coach.
Yep.
He was in a Purdue, had a quarterback position battle in fall practice between Appleby, Danny Etling, and David Blau.
Wow.
Yep.
2 out of the 3. Blau. Blau. 2 out of 3 made it into the league.
Blau was on Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Yep. Struggling.
He was. I mean, Edling's still in the league.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. 2 out of Appleby is the Lone Ranger that didn't get the call.
It got the win.
Got the win.
Was Edling the quarterback in 16?
Yep. Because Edling scrambled around in front of the student section, and one of Florida's safeties hit him so hard, like hit him in the chin, and he was just like bounced up.
It was
tough,
Appleby and Luke Del Rio.
Luke Del Rio.
Yep.
Wow.
Jack
Talk
Del
about
Rio's son.
not being worried about recruiting. My God.
And on defense they had players.
Everywhere.
Tease Tabor was one of their corners.
Mm-hmm.
C. Deuce. They had everywhere you look, they had a player.
Yeah.
LSU's defense was nasty too.
That was the defense that only gave up 15 touchdowns in the season.
That was the 2020. That's when they went 5-5.
Talking about 16.
No, 16. Yeah, 16.
Because that's the Dante Jackson team where, I mean, we went through the corners that day. We're like,
Who's that?
I'd take him.
Kendall Beckwith.
Kendall Beckwith, Duke Riley, Deion Jones might have been on that team, I think. And was he on that team in 16?
No, I
No.
don't think so.
I don't think he was either.
Because we were in college at the same time.
But
He came to a party once. He's like, "This is not for me."
Well, either way, it was still Kendall Beckwith and Duke Riley. And,
Yeah, people on every level.
And
Yeah, they
Daniil
were-
Hunter was probably playing DN.
Or D tackle.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Spy him.
They had Lewis Neal starting over him.
Lewis Neal.
Yeah,
I love Lewis Neal.
Me too.
I
I'd take
mean,
him right now.
Would you take him?
KT2.
Golly, you take 8 Lewis Neals.
Yeah, that's almost like Mekhi Wingo.
It is.
That's kind of who I.
He's
compare
kind of
him.
Mekhi Wingo 2.0.
Mhm.
So this LSU Florida series, man, has always been one that has gotten people moving, right? I mean, it gets the juices flowing. It is one that I think, from a historical standpoint, there's a lot of reference to it. There's a lot of games that stand out. I still remember the game that Tyrann Mathieu was switched to cornerback in this game. He was the National Player of the Week against the 2011 team. Of course, that was the day that Brad Wing faked the punt, and LSU just obliterated Florida that day.
Fast forward a year later, 2012. Ugh.
What was that one?
That game hurts. 12-6. Florida wins.
Is that the Felipe Franks game?
No, that is the Odell strip game.
Ugh,
Oh.
that was a brutal game. I think that was the day they put Jeremy Hill in for the first time at
Yep.
the end of the game.
And he's running
Like threw him
all
a
over.
screen and he just goes wild. How did they? Was that the day Quan broke his ankle?
Yep.
Kevin Mentor had 20 tackles that day.
20 tackles. They only scored 12 points.
Ugh, what a disgusting
14-6. Yeah. Jeff Driscoll, 8 of 12 for 61
Jeff
yards.
Driscoll.
Yes. And Matt
Fattest
Elam,
ass in the league.
Matt Elam was trying to kill Odell.
He did.
He did kill Odell on a punt return.
Uh-huh.
And then he hit him with the
Go to sleep. That's when.
and Odell slaps his helmet.
Odell was
Odell
not a
was-
member of the football game after that.
So
He was present.
He was not there.
He was not there.
Golly, I forgot all about that.
I
game.
remember that
game
Matt
was
Elam
so
hit.
That was a
ugly.
brutal game.
And they couldn't protect Medberger.
No.
No.
Another game where he was just crawling around.
11 of 25 for 158 and a pick.
Gross.
Ugh.
Mike Gillespie, 34 carries for 140.
Gillespie.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was a pro.
34
He was.
carries, 146.
Yeah, he was a dog.
Killing LSU.
Ugh.
Yeah, that was such an ugly game.
Yeah, it was, man.
LSU was ranked
remember
fourth in
watching
the
that game,
country.
just like that was
That was
like watching grass grow.
yes.
I mean,
That
like
was
watching
like
paint dry.
That's when I was like, I'm done with Les Miles. Like I hate this offense. Like you got too many weapons running
this guy.
around. Like get him out of here today.
You had 4 more years of him.
Ugh.
LSU was 1 of 13 on third down.
Struggling.
I mean, really and truly, what is worse, Les Miles' offense or Brian Kelly's defense?
I mean, I got to go to defense because
Les Miles' offense is undefeated.
Les Miles' offense. I mean, you know what you're getting. Like you at least knew every game. The first.
Well, I mean, kind of with this defense, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, but like I don't know.
I mean, really, Stu, if they play anybody good, I mean, like, look back on it. Like, Arkansas is pathetic. Like, I mean, like, they are terrible.
Goodness.
I mean, Auburn is
awful.
Horrible. I mean, like,
Auburn doesn't even
know,
know
like,
who
how
they-
the hell did Army beat Air Force? Like, really? Like, that's one of their biggest quality wins. Like, that's their best defensive performance. I mean,
Air
like,
Force was like looking at a playoff spot.
no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the biggest upsets of the year.
Jesus, man, I don't know.
But I mean, like,
I still
they
go
don't
Brian
play
Kelly's
as
defense.
soon as they play anybody good. Name your score. Like, it felt like Alabama could have named their score last week. It felt like
For the first time this year.
Ole Miss did.
Yeah.
Like they, you know,
Yeah, like, we're scoring 50 today.
yeah, like I mean, it
60.
was. I mean, that game was literally the team with the ball last was going to win. I mean, the ball went through Chris Hilton's hand.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
the team with the ball last
gonna
was
win the
going
game.
to win the game. I mean, I would say if you played that game on Saturday, it'd be the same exact thing.
Yep.
It'd be the same game. I mean, so, you know, listening to, well, we've progressed since Ole Miss. What film? I mean, I know you got to say that stuff in the public and you got to, you know, give the company line, but there's no way behind closed doors they're preaching progression. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, fellas, that film on Saturday was as bad as the Ole Miss game.
Like when he said that, I was like, is he sure? Is he
Well-
watching what like everybody else is watching who have less years of football experience than him?
The reason it's so bad is because it seemed like something that was pretty fixable. Alabama was very one-dimensional, and you just didn't. You refused to budge. You knew what they were going to do by the time halfway through the first quarter, and I think we've said this before, but it came down to they were terrified of giving up a big play on the back end, but you're giving up big plays right in front of you. Like, it's
Big
happening
plays
in
are
your
happening in your
face.
face,
Like,
coach.
it's happening
like-
even more.
Huh?
I mean,
At least get your defense off the field.
If I'm the defensive coordinator, after I saw Milroe throw the ball four rows in the stands
No
off,
doubt.
off a wide open receiver, I'm
No
saying
doubt.
we just got to stop
Yeah,
him running.
fellas, forget about it. Get out of it.
He doesn't want to throw it.
Yeah, he don't want to throw. I mean, he missed somebody in the flat. You mean we talking about that?
That's Isaiah Bond. He throws it
I mean, Bond's
4
like,
feet in the stands. He's like,
Oh,
all right, dog.
Yeah, he-
Guess I'm right back to the huddle.
That's those old Baker Mayfield
Yes.
reps where you're like,
But if you-
right.
what are you
but-
doing?
Mac Jones.
But
Yeah.
even if you watch that play, Sage Ryan's playing corner. He doesn't even look at the outside receiver. The outside receiver Isaiah Bond just floats. Sage Ryan's going inside with the second receiver. Like, what are we looking at on defense? Like, what are the coaches telling us? Like, that's what I need to know. Like, what are the coaches telling the players before they go on the field?
Well, you practice what you're getting preached.
But it's not.
Because I
The
don't
preaching
know.
ain't happening. It ain't going through. It's going through one ear and out
there's
the
no,
other.
That's the part that's really killing them is the development part.
Well,
You
and
know
a
what I
lot-
mean, when you talk about progression, that's what you have to see is the players have to improve. And for the players to improve, that goes back to directly on coaching. And the players are just not improving specifically on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, there's just nowhere you can point to and say, see, there's improvement. And when that happens, there has to be something or someone that answers.
The only thing that you could point to is Army and Auburn, two of the worst offenses, but because of what happened after Ole Miss. Like, look, they're getting better. It's like, I
Right.
think they just
A little
played
fool's gold.
Yeah, I think they played really two bad
Yeah, it's
teams.
just fool's gold, man. Remember, we're brought to you daily by Go Roof, our friends online at GEAUXroof.com. Get in touch with Go Roof. Easy to do it that way at Go Roof, GEAUXroof.com, or you can call them 225-927-8300. 225-927-8300. You get a 2-year free workmanship guarantee with all new roof installations. Competitive pricing, free quotes, and free roof inspections from our friends over at Go Roof. As we say, easiest way to get them is online, GEAUXroof.com, or call them 225-927-8300. You can count on the fellas for roof repair, roof installation, roof maintenance. That's commercial roofing, residential roofing, and roofing repairs. Get in touch with Go Roof today. If you call them this morning, they'll have somebody up on your roof diagnosing a problem. If there is a problem, they'll work directly with the insurance company, help to take the headaches out of the way for you over at Go Roof. GEAUXroof.com, GEAUXroof.com, and 225-927-8300 is the phone number. Go Roof, a beautiful roof every single time with our friends over at Go Roof. Jump inside the chat if you've got some memories about the Florida series that you want to remember or you want to put out there. There's so many good ones to choose from. Right, I still obviously remember 97 is one that will always be a great day in LSU football history. The same in the opposite side, when you go to that 2003 team, a lot of people were curious on why they were recognizing the 03 team during Florida week, because that was the only team, that was the only blemish on LSU's record that season. In 2003, Florida, we said Ron Zook. I still see Chris Leak hitting a wide open wide receiver in the south end zone for a score, and Skylar Green trying to keep it close. That was a day LSU offensively just couldn't get anything going.
Well, I was at that game.
I was at that game too,
and it was. You could feel it.
Yeah, you could feel it early.
Especially
they had a missing. Jack Hunt was out that day.
Yes, he was.
He was out that day, and there was a big story going into the game that Hunt was missing, and he was the guy. He was the quarterback of the defense. And I want to say, man, who was it that filled in? Was it Jayden Daniels? Maybe it was a young player that filled in for Jack Hunt that day. And they missed him.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, on that touchdown, it's right over the middle of the field. And I'm telling you, the Florida wide receiver is by himself in the end zone when he makes the play. I was there that day, too. You could feel it, man.
Well, because LSU, it was that you could feel something special was coming, right? Like it was the first time I'd ever let my brain go to the place of, is this a national championship type run that they're on? And you go to the game and you're expecting that atmosphere. Like you kind of want that Georgia feeling again, where it's like, all right, this is a day game. You want this place to be buzzing. And it just never had anything that really set a spark off. It was just, this feels like an upset.
And then in 07, the 07 game, I think, look, there's the program for the 07 game is right there on the wall, right in front of you, Lloyd, with the game day with Glenn Dorsey.
Glenn Dorsey?
That is...
I think that's my favorite game of all time.
That could be a top 3 moment in Tiger Stadium history that night. And that's another one that if you were there, you could feel it.
Yep. It's the opposite of the 2003 game.
You could feel it the entire time. And the thing about that night, it was very reminiscent to the LSU Georgia day game, where people were just not going to accept getting beat. Like, you could feel the stands, you could feel the energy, you could feel the whole vibe of the day was, no, they're not accepting that they're going to lose the game. And that Georgia game got a little crunchy, it got a little hairy when like at the end. You know, kind of at the beginning it felt like LSU was going to be in some trouble, but then for like 2.5, 3 quarters, LSU really kind of felt like they were the ones that were going to get out of there. And then at the end, Georgia bust this screen for 90 yards, and the whole place, it was still to this day, it is one of the strongest, most magical, what Tiger Stadium is made of moments that I have ever seen. As soon as I believe the running back's name was Browning for Georgia, crossed the goal line, 100,000 people started chanting LSU. Like the place was rocking. LSU. LSU. As soon as,
nobody sat down.
They hadn't even kicked the extra point yet. And it was like they are not going to accept losing the game. And then Devery Henderson catches the kickoff and nearly houses it. And 3 or 4 plays later is when Maul hits Skylar Green. They win the game. They get out of there. And it just kind of felt like they were going to win the game the whole day. The 07 game against Florida, the Gators come out and they start to kind of like dominate LSU. They go up 2 scores. Like they go up 2 scores. And that's the night that Tebow is playing pissed. I think that's Tebow's best regular season performance of his college career. And Tebow had some days. I mean, like, he had some games where he was a dude. That Saturday in Tiger Stadium, I believe it's October 6th, 2007, Tebow came in there ready to play, ready to win. I know everybody talks about him crying on the field that night, and he was crying on the field. A dude left it all out there, and I would argue that he was the best player on the field that night. I mean, on a night that there were people everywhere. But this dude was running around against that defense. That's the night he did the phone to the.
Yeah, he slid in the end zone.
I mean, it was, he came, and then the next play, he kind of ran the DBs up, and he just flipped it over the top for a touchdown. And then right after, still again, one of these magical moments in Tiger Stadium, they announced the USC Stanford game that just goes final in Southern Cal, in Los Angeles. In between the third and the fourth quarter is when this happens. Dan Bornay gets on the PA. Just final from Southern California. Final score, Stanford 56. No, because it went to like double OT.
I think it was 24-23, wasn't it?
Or whatever it was. I mean, it was a great game. And he announces the final, and the place goes bananas. I mean, like, the place comes unhinged. And nobody's on the field. Nobody's playing. And LSU's sideline starts going and getting pumped up and getting in it. The first play out of that, Tebow hits the tight end for like a 60-yard touchdown. I mean, it was like Tebow had ice in his veins that night. I'm telling you, I'm not the biggest Tebow fan. I think he's a lot of dog and pony show for the Tebow in him. And that day is single-handedly, he was ready to play that night, man. And obviously Chad Jones knocking down the Hail Mary at the end of the game that preserved the victory. That was as magical of a moment and a night as I believe Tiger Stadium can produce. I mean, all the fourth downs that Hester was picking up, the defense, once they settled in, started to make some plays. Who was it? I believe Stelz had Derry Beckwith.
A fumble.
Had a big, was it a fumble or was it an interception?
Both happened. Yeah. Because they were down. I'm looking at the box score right now, and I remember this anyway, but it was 24-14 because that's when they were down 2 scores.
Bang.
And yeah, and it was, you had to have something. They were about to cross the 50.
It was kind of the magic of Tiger Stadium.
Right, because it's right after that touchdown pass. And I remember Bornay because he goes, final. And you're like, and you could, from our seats, you could see the ticker. They still had the old school ticker. Yeah. And you saw the score. And Hester's talked about this before, where he was like on the sidelines, and they were wondering what was going on.
Right.
They're like, "Why is the crowd going crazy?" And they look up, and I imagine word got around. They're like, "USC lost. If you win this one, you're in. You're in." And they were like, "Oh shit!" So they started getting fired up, and like you said with the Tebow thing, but LSU gets 2 bang plays you have to have. They forced a fumble, and then there was a tip ball that I think Beckwith picked.
Yeah, Beckwith picked it off.
Yeah,
it was off Tyson Jackson's helmet.
Yeah, the Tebow.
Yeah,
I mean, the little.
He bounced it off his helmet. It was.
And then Les Miles just squeezed that game to death. Paraloo making a couple plays.
Yeah, Paraloo made a couple. Paraloo scored a touchdown.
Yeah, he did. It was a third down.
Little keeper.
Yeah, little pull.
Yeah,
he spun into the end zone.
That was a great game.
It was.
It was a great night.
That's probably one on the list, just from being there, like you said, old school Tiger Stadium night, and you just can't. You could feel the grip on you, but you didn't know Tebow was. That's why he was the player that I probably, because he was the boogeyman. Like he wouldn't get rattled by this.
And then the next time he came to Tiger Stadium, I think was the biggest, maybe disappointing performance for LSU. I thought LSU had a great opportunity in 2009 with Patrick Peterson and that defense. And Tebow, if you remember, the week before had gotten knocked out at Kentucky, and he got pummeled. I mean, it was a cheap shot. Somebody hit him in the back of the head, and I mean, it was
Didn't you like fall
like it was
you
bad.
got knocked out?
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. And there was question on whether or not he was going to play. And I believe LSU lost that game 14-0.
It was
2 scores.
13-3.
13-3. And that's the night that Pat Pete came up on Tebow and he makes that tackle on him in the open
Slides
field.
and
yeah,
pops
and
up.
he slides and he pops up and he does like the
And
right
you're
over
like,
the top of
dude,
him. You're
what an
"Whoa."
athlete. We got a dude.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it was
when was this?
It was a big time play.
2000.
It's 2009. It was the next time Tebow came back to Tiger Stadium. That was his second time in Tiger Stadium.
It was LSU Sports. LessMiles.net has it on there. It is sex.
It's one of his top 3 highlights. I mean, it's Tim Tebow in the open field,
Nobody wins this battle but
and
Tebow.
if he gets past Peterson, he scores. I mean, it's in the red area. It's like within the 15-yard line. And I mean, Pat Pete comes up on Tebow and makes as textbook of a tackle.
Right on the hip, baby.
And just wraps it. It was kind of, it really, like, no pun intended, it's kind of like a wrestling a gator, like a gator.
Yeah.
I mean, he just like
Alligator,
rips him.
yeah.
He just rips him and kind of rolls him real
Alligator
quick.
roll, coach.
And I mean,
Teach tape.
Pat Pete just like pops up like a top. I mean, it is like,
And
whoa.
immediately into the fist bump.
Whoa.
Like,
I mean, they were practicing Pat Pete that week at quarterback. They were giving him because the offense was so bad.
They were like,
The offense was so bad, and the defense, you really had a chance against Tebow because he was hurt. You know, like he was
banged up.
He was battling.
Wait,
and
was this the Harry Coleman when Harry Coleman hits Tebow too? Didn't
Maybe
Harry
so.
Coleman have a nice hit on Tebow?
Maybe so. Maybe so. But I mean, they were vulnerable that night, man.
God, I wish they'd have played Pat Pete at quarterback.
Was the 2010 game is when they hit Terrence Tolliver.
33-29. That's the fake field goal where it bounces perfectly to him. They get when I tell you they get a first down. This is one of the first times that college football has utilized like review.
Yes,
and you're like, what are they doing?
They're like really like,
looking at
they're
it.
like in it. That was like the first of the Les Miles magic.
Yes,
like you're like this guy, man.
Where's that horseshoe?
I mean, like this bastard. How does he get away? I mean, you're taking a football. An oblong-shaped object, throwing it over your head,
Could do
having
anything.
it bounce
thing is never gonna
perfectly
bounce.
into the gut of a kicker who splits a safety and a linebacker
Puts his foot in the ground.
for Florida to get a first down.
Because Florida knew they were.
I mean, like I'm telling you, it would have been like me running the Oklahoma drill against like Harold Perkins and Mason Smith. I mean, like,
I don't want to be out
like
here.
No way he's going to get through here.
He got it.
And somehow, was it Jasper?
I think so.
Was it Josh Jasper?
I mean, it's the same thing with Florida. A couple, what was it, 2014, when they faked the field goal again, and the kicker outruns the cornerback.
Yeah, it scores.
That's right. Miles, dude.
I mean, I think that cut was sheer fear.
They were winning that game. Like they were dominating that game for stretches. And somehow, I think Pat Pete fumbled. I think he fumbled a punt. He got him back in it. That's also the night that Tyrann Mathieu made that play on the running back.
Oh, he strips it.
Where he actually hits the. If you watch the entire play,
Was this
he
2010, right?
2010. Tyrann Mathieu blitzes the quarterback and hits the quarterback. He hits the quarterback and bounces off of the quarterback onto the ground, gets up, chases the running back down from behind, rips the ball out of the running back as the running back's moving forward and turns around and gets tackled onto the ball. And you were like, that was the first Honey Badger play.
And then the announcer's like, this young guy, this freshman from New Orleans, he's a playmaker.
Right. Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, nobody could get. It was a Tyrann. Tyrann.
Oh,
I mean, it was.
Oh, I just seen the Pat Pete tackle.
How beautiful
so
is
it? And this is the Andre DeBose in 2010. Do you remember him? He was a huge LSU recruit.
That's right. And he returned the kickoff.
Yeah, he had 160 yards. And
that's
you're
right.
just like, that should be in purple and gold because you have The LSU offense was so anemic, and you see him running around.
Bad.
And God bless.
I mean, they called the same play three times in a row to Terrace Tyler.
We're gonna run this fade.
They're like, we're living and dying. Like, it's either gonna happen or not.
And I was so stubborn back then. I was like, run it again.
Well, I mean,
what else
you
gonna
really,
do?
you really, there was no other option.
Well, with Les, I thought he was going to trot Jefferson out there, put him in 5 wide.
I couldn't believe they did make those calls because of Les. But I mean, really, you had.
He threw 3 straight fade balls.
He did.
The first 2, he almost catches them.
Well, I think he caught.
He was out of bounds.
He was out of bounds. Yeah,
they're like, throw it again. Throw it a little better, Jared.
just put it up. Just put it up a little higher.
And Terrence Tulliver was calling for it. He's like, again. You're just like, oh, this is how we're playing. Because even the field goal that was reviewed, it was to see if it was a forward pass or not. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, what? How can he do?
And it wasn't.
Yeah, no. But
I mean, it was, if you could have drawn a straight, like, somehow, some way.
Illustrate it.
It was not, it was unreal. I mean, it was Les Miles.
He's living on the equator.
That was like, we're in for it. You're never going to lose this guy.
God.
You're going to keep this guy forever.
That's those memories. And then you can even fast forward to, if you want to talk about the 2007 game, the 2019 game was a very similar kind of vibe where it felt like if you win this one, the world's your oyster. Like you're going ahead, you're going into a season that could be special.
That 2019,
and you chomped him out the stadium.
That might be like,
that's one of the best in the series.
I was about to say that might be one of the best environments I've been in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was very
for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a retro type night.
The Gator Chomp,
the swag serve.
Nobody left.
Gator Chomp, nobody left.
It was a good game for 4 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
It was a back and forth. I mean, that was as good of a game that the 2019 team was in. I mean, I remember Derek. You remember Derek Stingley went through it that night.
Yeah,
like they went at Stingley, and he ended up making the play of the game at the end, the interception in the end zone that secured it. But both Kyle Pitts and Van Jefferson gave him a night.
Van Jefferson put him in a pretzel.
He did.
But I mean, at one point in that game, Joe Burrow was like 18 for 18.
18 for 18.
He was dotting them up.
He was. That was as. And look, man, that was 2 good
defenses.
That was 2 solid defenses,
Coach,
man.
I was in the stands telling my friends, I'm like, do y'all realize like he's 18? Like at one point he was
right
like
now?
12 for 12. I was like, I realize he's 12 for 12, and they're like, nah.
And the
I was
game
like, he's
went
12 for 12.
And the game winning play to Jamar was just beautiful.
The cherry on top.
God, because I
straight down the sideline
from where like my seats are, like our seats are, the vantage point you could see him come open, and I was like, Joe's not gonna miss him. He's just running naked. I was like, this is about to be it. Play my theme music.
I mean, it was.
And then when you left the stadium, like we go down like the roundabout way. They were chomping the Florida fans out the stadium, just following them. Like it was a sea of people.
The scene in the stadium is
on tilt. It was wild.
It was nuts.
That's where you get the swag surfing video from the crowd.
I literally was the last person out of the stadium that night. We ended up doing the post-game show. We did Whiskey and Wine. I was inside the stadium, and I want to say it was Mason Smith was down on the field, and I'm yelling at him from the press box, boozing on vino. And Bonnet like sent some staffer up there and was like, "You got to shut this down, bro. Like you can't be up here like yelling at recruits drunk in the middle of a game, entire stadium doing a post game show. Are you out of your mind?
You don't want to come down
LSU. Are you in or you out, Mason?
Your lips are red, teeth are stained.
Yeah, no doubt. Like
cigar in your mouth.
Oh, Coach O,
you're the man.
What's up, baby?
Lock the gates.
I mean, like.
Oh,
it was. I mean,
that was a scene.
That was an incredible season.
It was.
That was an incredible season. All right, well, hour 2, we're going to come back with you. Chris Blair is going to be here. Make sure and come back with us in hour 2. Don't forget, we're brought to you by Katie's Restaurant. Katie's located down in New Orleans, right there on Iberville Street, right in the heart of New Orleans. Online at katiesinmidcity.com. katiesinmidcity.com is where you can find them online. Great New Orleans specials, great New Orleans menu items, great New Orleans cold beer that you can find all day long over at Katie's. Remember, they've got Sunday hours that exist now, 10 a.m. until 6 p.m., so you can go in there, check out pregame, postgame, or in-game coverage of the NFL on Sundays. A great spot to post up and watch the game. Check out our friends Katie's in Mid-City online, katiesinmidcity.com. Hour 2 next, built by R&B. If you're in the market for a mortgage lender, you need to start with Doug Bickley and his team. Bickley has built a crew with over 50 years of combined lending experience. They've been in business for over 20 years, and they love helping their clients achieve the American dream of home ownership. They're also key with working in real estate agents and helping their clients getting same-day pre-approval. They average about one buyer a day getting them in a home. If you want to get in touch with Doug and his crew, it's easy. Call them 225-214-5154. 225-214-5154. Go see the Bickley team today. They're located on the corner of Coursey Boulevard and Sherwood Forest right here in Baton Rouge.
What's up?
What's happening?
Chilling with a couple of cool guys. You?
Chilling and watching some tube. Hold on. Did you do it? Hold on. Did you do it?
Roof's up.
Hold on.
Roof's up.
Roof's up!
Roof's up.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
You can't put the cart before the horse. That'd be like, will you marry me?
Do I know you?
Never sign a contract with a roofer before he gets on your roof. Call Go Roof instead. We offer a free, no-obligation inspection. A beautiful roof every shingle time. Bobby, goes in the front.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
Belmont Stakes Race Training. I'm sticking to roofing.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
Kentucky Derby Training. I'm sticking to roofing.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
Head health is incredibly important for our student athletes. One of the best ways we're trying to address concussions is on the front end. We're trying to prevent these before they happen. And a big part of that is speaking to the athletes, letting them know what to expect. Okay, speaking to the parents, what to look out for, talking to the coaches so they know the vital importance. Some of the big things we're looking for with a concussion, which is, a traumatic brain injury, is one, was there a mechanism? Was there an injury that took place that could lead to this? Often a direct blow to the head, a head-to-head hit. If someone's showing signs of concussion, our first step is always to remove them from activity, get them to a place where there's less stimuli, where we can really just sit down and get a feel for the athlete, what they're feeling. We're looking for headache, we're looking for dizziness, any sign that coordination is off, that something's just not right. Get a good evaluation of them to understand what's going on. It's not worth the risk that may be there to kind of ignore it, because there are very serious consequences if we don't treat a concussion properly.
Don't let concerns about shifts in the market disrupt your long-term financial goals. Edward Jones financial advisor Daniel Newman can help. He'll work with you on an investment strategy for long-term results. Edward Jones can give you the tools and knowledge for a steady approach to hitting your financial targets. Get started today by calling Daniel Newman at 225-261-8262. 225-261-8262. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, Chino. Cut my headphones up, bro. Yeah, right there. Now I'm focused
the way, now I'm just driving around it. They said I need a soul searching, I already found it. I ain't like my other side, now I'm sounding astounded. Drive by and let it ride like I'm whipping a Tesla. Pressure never fazed me, cause I'm bigger than pressure. I'm on my grind, bullshit, can't fit in my schedule. I'ma do what's best with me, you can keep all your lectures. Spend the summer stacking bread, might be gone to November. Pulling up like Trey Young just to freeze up December. I got niggas on the block like traditional sinners. OGs love me, so I hang with traditional winners. I took a break for a minute, I had to go charge up. Had to focus on my business.
All right, welcome back to your Hour 2 Jordy Culotta Show. Appreciate you being with us, starting your Thursday here with us, as we appreciate you being here. Hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. If you have not subscribed to the show, make sure and hit that subscription button before we get out of here. At 9 a.m., we're going to talk to Chris Blair coming up here at 8:15. Blair, of course, the voice of the Tigers. We'll talk to him about Florida Week, some of his memories from this matchup over the years, as I believe Blair's first game was 2016. The Darius Geis wrong way.
I think he did say that.
Yeah, that's right. 16 was his first year.
I mean, there's no debate there, right? Like, he definitely went the wrong way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tough play to mess up. Toss
out of
left.
a timeout.
Yeah.
Out of a timeout.
The moment will get you.
So we'll talk to Blair coming up here. That's a part of our Southern Regional Medical phone line. We appreciate you being here, as we said. LSU women's basketball home tonight. Ring ceremony for Mulkey and the ladies tonight as they return to action after the opening loss to Colorado, which a little bit of the fallout of that has been interesting to see. I was listening to Le Batard's podcast yesterday, and they absolutely hate Kim Mulkey. I mean, like, one of the national shows that just like to go in on Mulkey. And
I don't think they like LSU very much. They dislike Brian Kelly and Kim Mulkey.
Yeah, they do. You're right. So you're right. A lot of LSU hate on that set. And Ed Ogeron.
Oh, yeah.
They constantly making fun of
O. That's a low-hanging fruit right there. Take that apple.
Right. But they are, like we said, I mean, while LSU women are, going to be so fun to watch and incredible to watch this team evolve and grow into whatever their destiny is. They're going to be talented and fun to watch. They are going to be as hated as well. And when they lose, you can sense that people are waiting and lining up for that to happen. And that is something that will be interesting to see how they navigate this, because LSU opens their season tonight against Queens. That'll be a 7 o'clock tip-off inside the Maravich Center. Ring ceremony before, and you'll be able to look back, celebrate last season's win, national championship, and group before moving into this season. It seems like yesterday's practice for LSU women were very spirited in trying to preach the message of what was left on the floor in Vegas up with Colorado. So tonight we'll be back in action for LSU women. First time that they will be at home for the season. So if you are looking for something to do on a Thursday night, LSU women taking on Queens tonight, well, they will have their rings handed over as well. And Matt McMahon and the crew will play Nichols tomorrow night inside the Maravich Center. And shout out to McMahon and his crew over the last 24 hours for really sewing up and getting signings from a couple of really high-end players. 4-star guard that they were able to get. Curtis Givens out of Memphis was a huge get. And then they get a 4-star forward out of Houston in Robert Miller, who they beat Texas on. A couple of big wins for Matt McMahon in the living room, in recruiting. Yesterday, it was an early signing period for athletes, and LSU men's basketball really did a good job of securing some big-time players in the future. That's obviously what Matt McMahon has been missing. I mean, he's been able to really kind of bring some stability back, but now the recruiting going to the next level is something that kind of people have been waiting to see, and that is a sign of it right there with these two players in Givens and Miller inking to LSU. Also, the top women's prospect in the state, Jada Richard, signed her letter of intent with LSU women's basketball. So a nice day for the basketball program on Wednesday from a recruiting standpoint. And over the next 2 days, they'll be on the floor making their official home opener for the men and women this Thursday and Friday night, respectively. Tonight for the women, Queens, 7 o'clock tip-off, Maravich Center. Tomorrow night, Nicholls State, men's 7 o'clock tip-off over at the Maravich Center. So good stuff with the men's and women's basketball program with LSU. And then I was watching a little bit of the Pelicans last night. And Zion out for personal reasons, early November here. But they were playing Minnesota. And I have watched Anthony Edwards play. This was not my first time watching him play.
But you didn't know.
But you kind of forget in between seeing him just how dominant he can be. And I think you're starting to see the waves crash on the LeBron,
Don't you
the
dare,
Steph
don't you?
Curry,
I care about you.
the KD. Not and I'm not saying that they're done, and I'm not saying that they're old and that but we understand that they've got more days behind them than they do in front of them, right? And who's going to be the next wave of superstars for the NBA? Because that's how the NBA has always been marketed. That's how it's always been promoted. When I was growing up, every team had a superstar, right? Dominique Wilkins was in Atlanta. Karl Malone and John Stockton were in Utah. You had, obviously you had Magic in LA. You had Michael in Chicago. You had Larry Bird in Boston. You had guys like Tim Hardaway in Miami. You had people that you could market and promote to, young, impressionable fans that they would grip on superstars for, right? And then you always would worry in the NBA, as one wave of talent was aging and kind of getting up in age, who was the next wave going to be? Who was the next faces of the league going to be? And Anthony Edwards. I wish Zion would be in this discussion. He should be in this discussion. If he played more, he would be in this discussion. But, what I am concerned about in watching Zion is really whether or not he loves basketball. Do you really love it? Love it.
I think he had a kid yesterday.
He did.
I get it. I'm not talking just solely about yesterday. I'm talking about all of the body of work here, right? I get that you like to do the 360 dunk before the game, and do all this stuff.
When you're not playing.
You work and do all this stuff. But, when you watch Anthony Edwards play, one thing that you cannot deny is that this guy is obsessed with basketball and winning. He is going to give you and compete at the highest level every second that he is out there. And I think he is a very refreshing superstar to watch. He's somebody that you don't see regularly just because he's so far out of our market. But last night, they were playing Minnesota, and they were, just having a chance to watch him play. The physical stuff is just freakish. The way he can jump, the way he can play. He would be an all-pro football player. He'll be an all-NBAer in the league. I'm not so certain he couldn't be a center field shortstop or a leadoff hit. He is a freak of an athlete. Just the stuff that he can do. And the next wave of superstars in the NBA, I believe, is going to be led by him. I was watching some highlights last night of Oklahoma City and Gilgeous Alexander.
Yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
How smooth is he?
He's a walking 30.
He gets you 30 just by rolling out of bed. He's another one that I think the league can promote into the future. He's fun to watch. He's entertaining. I would watch him play, right? So, like I said, I hope Zion can play his way. I know he had a kid yesterday. I'm not banging on him for having a kid yesterday. I'm just saying that, over the last couple of years, can't we all bring to light that, you would question whether or not he really loves it You know what I mean? I mean, you're seeing him do 360 dunks before play-in games. If you love it so much, go put your uniform on and play the game. Well, the doctor said I can't. Yeah, everybody in the organization's listening to you, man. Right? Like, I mean, that doctor has a job because you said so. So, I mean, like, those are the moments where you're like, he sat and watched?
At least he was there. That's where you're kind of at.
What's that?
Like, it kind of got to the point where, like, is he going to be there or not?
Yeah.
Like, not even suited up.
Yeah,
Just
right.
does he want to hang out with his teammates?
Right.
I mean, it goes all the way back to the C.J. McCollum where he's like, he didn't get a phone call or didn't call him whenever he got traded. He's like, that's usually, he's like, every team I've ever been on, you usually get reached out to by the people that are quote-unquote superstars on the team. He's like, I ain't even met the guy yet. And it's that kind of stuff where obviously he's young and you can make those mistakes. But if you've been on a basketball team before, like, that's teammate 101.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that is frustrating, to say the least, because the talent is undeniable, but you never get to see it. So it's like a shooting star.
Mhm.
Whenever it comes out, you look up at the sky, but they don't happen all that often.
No, it is.
And Anthony Edwards is starring in movies.
Edwards, man.
I mean, talk about an alien.
Oh my goodness! In that movie, he is
He's a fantastic actor.
Yes, he is, and he's a menace too.
He is. But
that's your mom over there.
Mm-hmm.
She could be my girlfriend.
Yeah. But the way he's put together, like, that's the other part of it, is his body type. He's a freak. He's a freak. That windmill dunk was nasty,
Yes.
and he has a chase down block in the same game. He single-handedly took the game over, and he had I think his plus minus was 35. Like, he'd make what you want of plus minus, but when it gets close to 40,
right.
I think he's making an impact on the basketball game. What was Zion's plus minus? 0.
Yeah. I remember, like, the first time I saw Anthony Edwards play, I wasn't impressed. Like, I guess it was just weird. He was playing at Georgia.
I saw him play LSU
At
when he was
Georgia.
at Georgia,
And it was like
I think that was like one of his worst games.
Yeah,
that he played
I was
all
like,
year. He had like 11 points.
I was like, this dude's supposed to go like 1 overall. Like, they're talking about the top pick in the draft, and he ain't even like scoring.
Well, that was the early questions about him were, does he care about basketball?
Yeah, it was. Or if he's playing the right sport.
Yeah.
You know, people
Yeah.
were like, this dude looks like he'd be a freaky defensive end.
He'd probably be a freaky like receiver with the ball, like with
6'4",
the ball in his hands.
yeah.
Yeah, he's just 6'4", so you want to put the
Whatever.
ball in that.
He's the perfect height for the dunk contest.
Yes.
Which he will, if he enters, he will win.
Oh, he's the 1 seed.
He's a player.
He
And
is.
They got some
And-
underrated.
but not only
dunkers
that,
in
like
the
he
league.
is he's kind of a throwback in the way that he competes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way, like that's something that like this generation just does not.
Yeah, he doesn't
have.
sit out games.
He doesn't
do
sit
none
out
of that.
games. He doesn't talk to opponents. He's not like chummy with it. You know, like he is out there. You can sense like he's out there to win. And if he doesn't win, I mean, they were showing clips of him last year in the playoff loss. Like he's walking off the floor. And again, look, I know we talked about the Caleb Williams thing of him, you know, jumping up in the stands and showing emotion. And I'm not banging on Caleb Williams for showing emotion because I don't want you to hear what I'm about to say and call me a hypocrite, because here's what I'm explaining with Caleb Williams. It's all about the look of it. I mean, I know that may not be very shallow. It may not be what you want to hear, but in sports, in things where perception is reality, you have to be cognizant of that stuff. And Caleb Williams showing emotion, I think, is very healthy for him. I think it's good for young athletes to see Caleb Williams showing emotion. I think it's good for the overall mental makeup of, you know, like it's okay. It's fine that you can do that. You can show that on the stage. But if you really want to see it, you can go back. Anthony Edwards was doing it last year in the playoffs where he's walking off the floor as a pro. As a number 1 pick in the draft, a NBA pro, has been in the league now for multiple seasons. His money is right. His bank account is healthy. He's sitting in a good spot, right? And to see the emotion that comes out of that elite level pro is, I don't know if I haven't seen that at that level. I mean, outside, like I feel like the last time I saw it was like Kobe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was like real, invested emotionally.
Frustrated with losing.
Yeah. I mean, it was something that you rarely see today, and especially in the young athletes. I mean, you know, Anthony, what is he, 20?
he might be like.
He's 22.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So he's a baby.
But I think he got this star turn and kind of was burst onto the scene after the Team USA, where he put that team on his back. He dropped 34 in a game whenever they were losing, scored 12 straight in the fourth quarter, and was like, I'm not here to lose. I'm not letting us go to Team USA.
Yeah, he'll probably be on the LeBron, Steph Curry Team USA team.
He should be. I mean,
that's the young buck.
He's a great compliment to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, here's a 22-year-old edition of LeBron, and the 40-year-old edition.
And
right?
I think they get like Joel Embiid next year. This USA team is
good.
Lining up.
Put it back together. Remember our friends over at Jude's Hot Chicken and Shrimp, located on Burbank. Go check them out. Got great store hours, 10 a.m. until 9:30 p.m. every day. You can hit them on social media as well. Check out the chicken and shrimp options with the sauces like Nashville Fire and Nashville Honey. They're online at judesbr.com. What you got, Stewie?
Went to Jude's yesterday.
Okay.
Did he?
Okay.
Put it in his brain, coach.
For lunch.
Tell me marketing doesn't work.
How was it?
Have it? I mean, it was great. Yeah. Got the Nash honey.
Jude's Hot Chicken and Shrimp. Voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair is here. He's in next with us. Come right back. RMB builds us every day.
Keep pushing, can't let you slow up. Bounce back, can't let you fold up. Keep pushing, can't let you slow up.
Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
All right, buddy. Make it a good shot. Oh, yeah. Sticking the roof in.
For a hole in your roof, for a whole new roof, go roof. Roof, roof, go roof.
Hey, Greg, the roof up?
Roof's up. Roof's up. Roof's up.
Roof's up?
Roof's up. Roof's up!
Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
Well, the Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute collaborative effort was an idea from Dr. Andrews and myself to bring together two great names, the Andrews name and the Ochsner name, to elevate the quality of care for athletes in the state of Louisiana, where he's from.
I always thought I would come back to Louisiana
and practice orthopedics with my subspecialty being sports medicine. This was an opportunity through Ochsner's to come back and work the entire state to help develop and take sports medicine to a new level.
As an orthopedic surgeon, what this means in the future in terms of, access for our community to the type of care that Dr. Andrews pioneered, words can't describe how valuable that is.
Ochsner has a great opportunity here to really grow, and Dr. Burnham, of course, is the mainstay of making that happen. If you want to have first-class sports medicine care, check in with Dr. Burnham and his group, and you'll be more than impressed and pleased.
Malik Neighbors, a wide receiver.
Favorite pregame meal?
Popeyes.
What would winning a national championship mean to you?
It would mean a lot to me because, we seen a lot of the greats come through here, won their national championship, got, remembered for life.
If you get one superpower, what would it be?
Probably fly. That on telekinesis.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Do it wrong, do it long, do it right, do it light.
Karen Lacey, wide receiver, number 2.
Do you have any nicknames?
K2.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Stay humble.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Fly. I be flying in my dreams.
What's been the highlight of your partnership with us?
The bike giveaway was one of the best things. I was pretty excited about that one. Texas A&M, I just got a point to prove because last year I dropped 2 balls I should have caught. I'm coming for them for real.
That's it. Thank you, man.
My name is Harold Perkins, and I play linebacker.
What's your favorite pre-game meal or snack?
Pasta with a little steak, something that's not too heavy.
Any superstitions or pre-game rituals?
I pray a lot. Just be me and God before the game. Perky worky. I like when they call me the percolator. I like that.
If anyone gets in a wreck, who should they call?
Gordon.
Thanks. Where were you born at, Greg?
Hattiesburg, Mississippi. But I claim 504 food because I was raised there my whole life. Favorite type of food is spaghetti. But you need to try spaghetti with some corn on the side. Funniest person, I'd probably get Kyron Lacey. He be having me joked out every time I talk to him.
Who's the most athletic?
Besides myself, Perk or Malik. Future self, just take one day at a time, one step at a time. If you're doing something, just be where your feet are. Make sure you give 100% effort.
What is something on your bucket list?
Win a Super Bowl. That's definitely on my bucket list.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Time traveling.
Who's the fastest on the team?
Like in a short span, I would say quick trigger, I'm taking Perk. One thing most people don't know about me, probably that I moved 12 times growing up, 12 different states.
Who's the most savage on the team?
Mason Smith. Mason Smith, definitely.
And who gets it done?
Gordon.
Thank you, man. That's great.
Emory Jones, right tackle.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Got it from my mom, and she just told me, always keep your head on the swivel.
Favorite subject?
Math, easy. I kind of keep it light. Give me some type of red beans or something like that. Throw a little cornbread on the side.
Light with red beans.
Yeah, just a little bit. I am superstitious. I got some PSDs that's purple and yellow and white. I wear them every game. I feel like they my lucky draws, and you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep doing it.
As primary care sports physicians, the things we think about the most with our athletes from a medical standpoint usually involves the head, the climate, and the heart. We have to be very careful about participating in sports when it is safe, but also having the proper equipment to take care of them if we are worried about the athletes. So here in Louisiana, obviously heat can be a big problem. Things that I think about as a primary care sports medicine physician is that it's safe enough for our athletes to participate. And there are certain regulations that we follow here at Ochsner, but throughout the entire state, to make sure it is safe for our athletes to participate. When we think about concussion, we have to really recognize those symptoms from the forefront, and that becomes a cultural issue as well. As for the heart, screening exams are by far the most important thing that we can think about. We go through a series of questions, but also listen to the athlete's heart and ask about family history and other symptoms they may have had in the past. By doing so, we can identify and potentially screen out athletes to make sure that they are safe to participate in the sports that they love to do.
They say that life's a marathon, man, shout out to Nip. They start to think you falling off and they starting to flip. Circumstances start to change and they jump in the ship. Only ones that really matter who's tied to your hip. They tried to push you to the side cause they thought you would quit. May bend but never break, your cloth is legit. When you return in rare form, they all gonna be sick. You ever seen a living legend, just know that I'm it. Slow grind like IT, just know that I'm it. Now I'm back up in my bag, I'm giving them fits.
Welcome back, Jordy Culotta Show live here on this Thursday morning. I don't know why I keep saying Tuesday. Thursday morning here for you. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button. I know it's Thursday because our guy Chris Blair is here. Voice of the Tigers is with us, brought to you by Carriages of Baton Rouge, carriagesbr.com. They got the alternate LSU logos over there. Some great LSU gear if you're looking to stay away from the name brands and the typical polos out there. Go check out Carriages in Jefferson Highway Shopping Center. Tell Will and the crew that you heard it here on Chris Blair's segment every Thursday here on the show. He'll be at TJ Ribs tonight for the Brian Kelly Show, which will air live 7 p.m. from TJ Ribs on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Welcome back, Voice. Welcome home. Tough trip to T-Town and Tuscaloosa. That was a back-and-forth heavyweight fight that we thought we were going to get, and LSU just won too many mistakes to get out of there with a win. That was a tough one.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and that's kind of the way you knew going into it. I mean, that's typically how these games go. I mean, I think back to several over the years that have been close, and frankly, they have been. A lot of games decided by a score or 10 points or less, and some cases a field goal, in some cases 1 point. It comes down to, as I said on the broadcast, usually the team that blinks first, sometimes the team that blinks the most. And I mentioned it Monday prior to the press conference. You can look at the score, you can look at the drive summaries, and have not seen any of the game, and that pretty much tells you what happens. I mean, Alabama with 11 possessions, 2 of them one ended the second quarter, one ended the game. They missed 2 field goals, which again, a little surprising. Reichert, his first miss, and then he missed another. And then they had 1 punt, and then they scored touchdowns 6 times. LSU with 10 possessions, and again, that interception, while you can't lay that on Jayden Daniels, you can give credit to the line to deflect it, and then it just went straight up in the air, and Arnold was able to get the INT. But that, to me, the inability to get that third down conversion on a drop, which then led to a score, which then led to an interception and a score by Alabama. I mean, that swing there was the difference in the ball game, and it was unfortunate. And, of course, you're without Jayden Daniels a good portion of the fourth quarter. And, while I think with him in there, you have a little bit of hope that anything can happen as quickly as he can move the ball down the field and score. But with him not in there, that changes the offense quite a bit. And, just a tough outing. So now you have to turn around, as Coach Kelly said, and I think the biggest challenge of the year now is going to get these guys fired up to play a Florida team that, frankly, is not one of their best teams in the history of their program. But I think they've been a little Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, they've had some good games this year where they've been able to put it together. Maybe not all 3 phases, but the majority of the 3 phases. And I think they're going to be plenty motivated because, I know Coach Napier, with a little bit of heat gathering around there in an already hot Gainesville, Florida, you don't get bowl eligible and things really get ramped up on you.
What'd you see on the Daniels hit?
I was targeting, but again, I said it Monday, and I'll say it again here. Preface, it didn't have an impact on the game. It was a big moment in the game, don't get me wrong. But, I've been in Birmingham personally 3 times with the head of officials. They invite us all over, all the broadcasters in the league, and they go over any new rule changes, any tweaks to the rules. And inevitably, every year, it's always a discussion about what's targeting, what's not targeting. We've all been told, here are the ingredients, and these ingredients have to be all together to be targeting. And to me, that was targeting. But, as I said Monday, I don't know what targeting is. I don't know that the SEC officials know what targeting is, because I have seen it called for less. I have seen it, again, called for not called for much more. My biggest gripe is the procedure and the way they handled it. And I told you before we went on the air real quick, the hit was made, they told us in Birmingham that their instructions to the officials are, if it looks like targeting in real time, you toss the flag. We'll then rely on technology to clean it up and determine whether or not it was. So the fact that they didn't ask for targeting on the field stunned me. Secondly, every play is reviewed. Even the most minute play of a game is reviewed in real time. The fact that somebody in Birmingham didn't buzz the officials in Tuscaloosa to say, hey, guys, not sure, but while this injury timeout is here,
right,
which we're already waiting around 3 or 4 minutes, we need to check for targeting. It's close. The fact that they never came out and said this play is under review from targeting is, again, to me, more egregious than whether it was targeting or not, because procedurally, I think they should have done it, and it gives the SEC officials and the SEC in general a bad look, and it certainly opens the door for those conspiracy theorists, which I am not one of. I've said it all along. I mean, they're making so much money over there. I don't think they're really involved in individual games.
Right.
But I just think it gives credence to those who say it's not even across the board, simply because here's the thing, Jordy. Had they said we're going to take a look at this for targeting, they had plenty of time to do it. And they could have come back and said, hey, after review, it wasn't targeting. And we'd still all, in purple and gold, been upset about it.
Right.
But the fact that they didn't even do that is what is a head scratcher for me. But, I've said it all along. So, I hear so much about AI and how it's taking over our lives. I think the first thing it ought to do is take over officiating.
No doubt.
And get me the lasers and the cameras and put
Chips.
sensors and chips in the ball and let's figure this stuff out. We saw the NCAA came out and said the officiating in the women's championship game was not up to standard.
Thanks.
Which I think made the cover of Duh magazine. But anyway.
Well, what do we do with the chain
I
gang?
digress.
No, I appreciate you. I'm sure Brian Kelly appreciates your rant, saying things that he wishes he could say. I think when you got here, this Florida series turned.
Yeah.
I think like the season you got here, 16,
when it got really nasty.
Yeah, like both sides kind of started hating each other. What have you made of this? I guess rivalry.
Yeah, it was my first year in 2016. The little fisticuffs for the game, and
Guys.
Now they got to keep them well separated, just to warm up, which is crazy if you think about it. But it's interesting. I was talking to Sean Kelly, who's the voice of the Gators, yesterday on our podcast. And I asked him, I said, hey, when we get rid of these divisions and the guaranteed cross rivals, does Florida want to keep this game? And he had a good point. He said, I think Florida fans in general do. But you think about this matchup and how many times both teams had a ton on the line from a conference and national perspective, or at least one team or the other did, which gave motivation to the other team to wreck it because they wanted to, because it was either LSU or Florida. The crazy stuff that's happened in games, not quite to the level of Auburn, but similar, especially here of late, the fog game and throwing a shoe and all that goes with that. I think it's a really good rivalry. And, again, television thinks it is. You think about it.
Yeah.
They put the game on the 6-day hold, the flex,
right.
CBS did, because they saw down the road, hey, there's Florida and LSU, and depending on what happens this past weekend, that might be the marquee matchup for a Florida team that's got 5 wins.
Yeah.
So, I think TV understands the importance and the eyeballs outside of both Louisiana and Florida that will watch this game. And I think both fan bases, while they hate each other, I don't know. I think Florida, Sean said he thought the Florida fans wanted to keep it as a regular annual affair. I don't know about LSU fans. I like it just because it's very contentious and both teams get after each other. And both fan bases are they have such a personality.
Uh-huh.
And they're not the same. They're
Right.
very different, but
Yeah.
they have such a personality that when you put those two together, whether you're in Gainesville or here in Baton Rouge, I just think makes for an electric atmosphere. Right. So anyway, yeah, I kind of hope they do, but it's been fun to watch this thing get nasty over the last 8 years.
I agree. Yeah, it's been right when you touched down. That exact season was when it went the back-to-back years that you had to play at Florida and the shoe game and It's been wild, man.
That was another great job by the SEC handling that.
Yeah. The Burrow 19 game we were talking about earlier, that was a great one.
Oh, man. The atmosphere there. I mean, that was really, to be honest with you, in 16, I mentioned it last week, that was a great introduction for me, Alabama LSU, because it was packed out, and there was a ton of buzz. And but for me, I think my first, this is what Saturday night in Death Valley is about, truly for me was the 19 game against Florida. And then Burrow and them just pulling away late. That touchdown pass to Jamar, I mean, it was like, that was the crushing blow. I've seen some good ones, seen some crazy ones too.
How about Matt McMahon's crew? 100. I mean, look, man, I know that the competition, but Will Baker and the crew looked really good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm impressed with Will Baker, and John Brady, who, knows a lot more about hoops than you and I. He's been really impressed with Baker's play because I think he likes his game.
Yeah.
He's 7 feet and he's 250 pounds. That doesn't always equate to, great inside player. Not to mention the fact that he can step outside and hit threes, which he hit 2 the other night. But John talks about his patience and his almost like radar-like ability in the lane to, get the ball in his hands down near the basket. And then he kind of slows the game down to see where his defender is, which hip, what side.
Yeah.
Are they double teaming him? Who's the open guy? I think that's a big talent because, you see a lot of guys in the game, the way it's played today at both the NBA and college level, is there's not really a true 1 through 5 anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you got guys that are handling the ball like point guards that are 6'10", 6'11". And I wouldn't say he's a true back-to-the-basket throwback player, like Shaquille or
Sure.
Melvin Turpin and Sam Bowie of years gone by, and Patrick Ewing and Ralph Sampson for some of the older crew. But he's got that game. And to me, that's a big asset, not to mention the fact that through the exhibition game, what I've seen at practice, and then Monday night, you've got some guys who can sit out there and knock down threes, which it's been a couple of years since LSU's had that threat. And now you add this inside piece at 7 feet tall that teams are either going to have to double or just try to play one-on-one. I like it if they leave him one-on-one. I also like it if they double it. He's an excellent passer, according to the coaches. And you got Tyrell Ward and company out there ready to knock down inside, outside threes. So that's a different weapon, I think, for LSU than we've seen in a while.
Big day over the last 24 hours, too, for them in recruiting. I mean, the message is starting to take shape.
And Matt's kind of, if you've been listening to him, that's kind of what he's been talking about, is the job that his staff is doing in recruiting, and that, that they were really behind the 8 ball when they got here.
Yeah.
And I know we all expect, that first recruiting class, it didn't hit the way it should have. Well, okay, there's probably some reasons for that. But there's no denying the fact now that he's getting out there. I mean, the 6'11" kid from Texas, the guard out of Memphis that played in Florida. I mean, these are 4-star guys.
I mean, he's going into Memphis, beating Memphis for 4-star guards.
Yeah.
I mean, he just outlasted Texas for a Houston prospect and Robert Miller. I mean, those are big wins.
I don't know how many people caught it, but, I think Jordan Wright before the season, he was asked about, hey, you come back home to Louisiana after a really stellar career, 1,000-point scorer at Vanderbilt. What was the big impetus there? Was it coming back home? And he said, well, sure, but he said it was really Coach Matt McMahon and this staff, like having conversation with them, seeing their vision of this program, and it happens to be my home state. Yeah. My home city, love to come back. But I think you're starting to see how this staff is really able to tell a good story and get people excited about coming and playing for LSU. And as Matt told us after the game the other night, the beauty is when you look at the number of guys who are from the state, and John Brady has said it since day one, like it's great to go pull a kid out of Florida or New York or California and all that. I mean, and hopefully they can continue to do that. But John said, we really fought hard for 3 stars and 4 stars that were in Louisiana because we felt like, having LSU on the front of that jersey meant something to them. And I think Matt now is buying into that, and you see this with this roster now. And being around them, watching them at practice, they're having fun playing basketball. And if you're not having fun playing basketball,
it's not fun at all.
Your team probably shows it.
Yeah. Brady's Final Four run, all 5 starters from Louisiana. A very cool time in Louisiana basketball. during that time. Glenn Davis, Garrett Temple, Tasman Mitchell, Early Doucette, who was a football player, were all a part of a AAU national championship team that had kind of come up, and now they were starting in basketball and then Final Four.
Funny story the other night. Baker got a high post, turned, flipped it back to a guard, and then just stood there. Screened off the defender. Guy knocked down a three. I said, John, you got to love that play. Big guy comes outside, sets the screen, doesn't have to move, and just kind of flips it to an open guy 3 feet behind him. He goes, yeah, we had one of those plays for Big Baby, believe it or not. I said, I bet you did.
That's right, that big old ass. That's the base maker. Blair, good to see you. Have a great call on
Let's
Saturday.
have fun Saturday.
6:30 start, which means 4:30 pregame for you on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Chris Blair, Doug Morrow, Gordy Rush, and the crew. Make sure and tune into them. LSU versus Florida Saturday night from Death Valley. Doesn't get any better than that. SEC football. We'll be back. Close it out here on the Jordy Culotta Show, live from Click Here Digital's campus here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Keep pushing, can't let you slow up. Bounce back, can't let you fold up. Keep pushing, can't let you slow up.
If you're in the market for a mortgage lender, you need to start with Doug Bickley and his team. Bickley has built a crew with over 50 years of combined lending experience. They've been in business for over 20 years, and they love helping their clients achieve the American dream of home ownership. They're also key with working in real estate agents and helping their clients getting same-day pre-approval. They average about one buyer a day getting them in a home. If you want to get in touch with Doug and his crew, it's easy. Call them 225-214-5154. 225-214-5154. Go see the Bickley team today. They're located on the corner of Coursey Boulevard and Sherwood Forest right here in Baton Rouge.
What's up?
What's happening?
Chilling with a couple of cool guys. You?
Chilling and watching some tube. Hold on. Did you do it? Hold on. Did you do it?
Roof's up.
Hold on.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
You can't put the cart before the horse. That'd be like, will you marry me?
Do I know you?
Never sign a contract with a roofer before he gets on your roof. Call Go Roof instead. We offer a free, no-obligation inspection. A beautiful roof every single time. Bobby, goes in the front.
Roof, roof, go roof.
Belmont Stakes Race Training.
I'm sticking to roofing.
Roof, roof, go roof.
Kentucky Derby training. I'm sticking to roofing.
Roof, roof, go roof.
Head health is incredibly important for our student athletes. One of the best ways we're trying to address concussions is on the front end. We're trying to prevent these before they happen. And a big part of that is speaking to the athletes, letting them know what to expect. Okay, speaking to the parents, what to look out for, talking to the coaches so they know the vital importance. Some of the big things we're looking for with a concussion, which is, a traumatic brain injury, is one, was there a mechanism? Was there an injury that took place that could lead to this? Often a direct blow to the head, a head-to-head hit. If someone's showing signs of concussion, our first step is always to remove them from activity, get them to a place where there's less stimuli, where we can really just sit down and get a feel for the athlete, what they're feeling. We're looking for headache, we're looking for dizziness, any sign that coordination is off, that something's just not right. Get a good evaluation of them to understand what's going on. It's not worth the risk that may be there to kind of ignore it, because there are very serious consequences if we don't treat a concussion properly.
Don't let concerns about shifts in the market disrupt your long-term financial goals. Edward Jones financial advisor Daniel Newman can help. He'll work with you on an investment strategy for long-term results. Edward Jones can give you the tools and knowledge for a steady approach to hitting your financial targets. Get started today by calling Daniel Newman at 225-261-8262, 225-261-8262. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
All right, welcome back here. Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by our friends over at R&B Builders. Got to get our guy Ben Mintz in today. Mincy on the road tomorrow, going to Athens for the setup of Ole Miss in Georgia this weekend, in between the hedges, which should be a classic for definitely for the widespread panic crew. If you think about the Ole Miss and the Georgia crowd, this is two of the heavyweights that you see traveling to listen to the panic. Ben Mintz was once a leader of that army in Oxford. He is now leading that army nationwide, and he's also over at Barstool. Mincy, the Chicago setup looks unbelievable. How would you describe it in your first week?
I gotta say, the vibes. This feels like the golden age. It feels like everything's built up to it. I moved into like an awesome 30 apartment with a downtown skyrise view. We moved into a $20 million office that Big Cat basically said for 10 years it's been a dream to have this office. It's kind of like a fun factory in a way. And then I'll just be honest, my favorite people from Barstool are here. We only got 50 or 60 people in the office, and it's a lot of the most positive people in our company. And so the work environment's great, and everything just feels overwhelmingly positive. And I never thought I'd be in Chicago at 40, but it just feels like the start of a really, really great next, 2 to 5 year run is what it feels like is coming here.
The basketball court is a hell of an addition to the office. It's a beautiful setup. Mincy, it looks like your jumper's coming around too.
Yeah. Dude, I hadn't shot a basketball hardly in 20 years. My conditioning's gotten better, but as far as my actual shooting, we might have a little ways to go. But that was fun. So last night we had that Barstool Invitational, and between games we played yak basketball, which is like a combo of rugby and basketball, I would say.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Mincy, do you work with the plane lady?
I didn't get to meet her. She was in the office last week, and I did. I wish I had. Everybody's messing with Hank, thinking Hank's trying to hook up with her. So it's really fun.
It was incredible content. All right, Mincy, speaking of incredible content, your college football and pro football picks have been must listen and must watch. Before we get there, tell us about the trip to Georgia that you got on the horizon this weekend. This should be a great one, right?
Yeah, man. Well, look, here's the thing. I mean, I come on here. Everybody knows I'm a big Ole Miss guy, but I'm also like a realistic guy, and we don't have seasons like this. We're 8-1 in the top 10. Like, what is old school Ole Miss would have found a way to lose that A&M game and the LSU game, and Lane has changed the culture almost in a similar way, to the way Peyton and Brees kind of did in New Orleans, where you have like a fan base that's beat down from losing that just all of a sudden believes they're going to win these close games now. And, this game, look, Ole Miss number 9, Georgia's number 1. It's a night game, 7 Eastern, looking like 55 and rainy, which I don't think the rain's good for us. But who even cares about complaining or negativity? I mean, Ole Miss loses this game, they're winning 10 games to go into a BCS Bowl. It's a free roll. Let's see what happens between the hedges. And I just can't wait to see the atmosphere. I hadn't been to Athens since 2011, the Panic 25th anniversary. So flying down to Atlanta tomorrow, I'm going to be just kind of the plan is to not have a plan to raise hell all over Athens this weekend. Can't wait.
Mincy, the first time I was introduced to widespread panic in my life was on Ole Miss's campus in the late 90s. It was a crowd and a crew that I had not ever met in my life. And followed them to a couple of panic shows and was introduced to just this whole new world. I got to imagine this weekend in Athens with Ole Miss heading to the hedges this has got to be a couple of the 1 seeds on a WSP tour of just crunchies. I mean, like, good Lord, the amount of hippies that are going to be at this game should be overwhelming, right?
Yeah, Georgia's the 1 seed because they're out of Athens. Ole Miss would definitely be the 2 on that battle. But, it's kind of like a worlds colliding thing. I might have to do a video or 2 from some Panic history spots for principal.
Please, Mincy. All right, let's get to the picks. Enough with this. Let's go. Who we doing?
All right, 6-pack. We're starting. First play is a system play. I did pretty good last week, but the one I missed on, I think Maryland's deader than fried chicken. I mean, they lost to Northwestern 2 weeks ago. They lost 51-15 to Penn State. Now they're a 2-point road favorite against a Nebraska team that had a bad loss last week at Michigan State, but it's still going to be a sold-out crowd, and they're playing for bowl eligibility. So give me Nebraska +2 as the home dog on the bounce back, and I think Maryland's done. Second game, I can't figure out what this line is this low because I think it should be 7. Kansas is a 3.5-point home favorite over Texas Tech. I think the line should be like 7. Texas Tech's been awful on the road all year. Kansas is scoring a ton of points. So I'm taking Kansas here. I like it a good bit. And the third game in college this is strictly a rat line play. Oklahoma State won it was bigger than a Super Bowl last week. It was the final bedlam against their arch rival with Oklahoma leaving to the SEC. I mean, you could see it the way Gundy was acting after the game. I mean, that game meant everything to their program. And now they're a 2.5-point road favorite against a Central Florida team that's got 4 or 5 wins. This line just reeks to me. It looks like the rat line of the entire season. Oklahoma State only laying 2.5 off that big win, so I'm taking Central Florida to just fade everybody on that as my third pick. So Nebraska, Kansas, Central Florida is what we're rolling with.
How about on Sunday?
Sunday, we got some plays. Got a new system that I've kind of been talking about a little bit lately for NFL. It's a very simple system. If Jordan Love is playing quarterback, I'm betting the under. Period. It's like 7-1 or 8-1. He's at 1 over. It's 38.5 in Pittsburgh against a Pittsburgh offense that stinks because, as y'all know, Matt Canada is the worst offensive coordinator, and I have no idea why he still gets to call plays. So give me under 38.5. I think the Mets over-under on it's like 34.5. I think it's off by 4 points. Next up, I talked a lot on here. I've been waiting all year on my Desmond Ridder to Taylor Heineke upgrade theory, and then what happened last week? The over-under was 37, and then freaking 31-28 game. So I felt my theory looks good. Vegas quickly catching on. The over's 43 in the desert this week against Arizona, but it looks like Kyler Murray's going to come back. And if you got a Heineke-Murray matchup, this thing's going to get wild, baby. Banging over 43 as my second play. And my third play, I had a few options, but we're going to go I was between 2. I was between Cleveland +6 at Baltimore because it's a division game, and I think they're going to fight hard. But the Ravens are really, really hot, so I'm going to go with the Raiders +0.5 point on Sunday Night Football against the Jets. You saw last week I was on it. I mean, Antonio, they just hated Josh McDaniels so much, and so now you're seeing this team play really hard and free now that they don't have to deal with somebody they hate. So I'm going to take them again.
Benny Betts every week here on the Jordy Culotta Show, of course. Up at Barstool, King of Chicago now, heading to Athens this weekend. Ole Miss.
Jordy, sneaking in Chicago theater for my morning jacket tonight, by the way.
Yes, indeed. My morning jacket was just down in New Orleans on Halloween night.
Oh, yeah.
So, Mintz, real quick, give me a little preview on this Georgia Ole Miss game. Or, excuse me, give me your thoughts on the LSU Bama game.
LSU Florida. Okay, so
LSU
Florida.
What are your thoughts on the LSU Bama game? How it went down?
Yeah, it just Bama's done this. They did this to Tennessee, Ole Miss, and LSU, where first half it's tied or they're losing, and they just come out and beat the hell out of the second half adjustments. But I mean, LSU's defense just doesn't have it. And I'll tell you my biggest thought: Matt House was so good last year in year one. A 7-year-old could have figured out Harold Perkins needed to spy on Milroe in that game. 155 yards rushing. He was running all over. The fact that they never adjusted to spy on him it was unbelievable to me from the couch. I think a 9-year-old could have figured that out, that they needed to do that. And I I know that's been the story of LSU season. It's because the defense was really good last year in year one at their house, but it's just that, LSU's wasted such a historic offense this year, and I hate it for my guy Joe Sloan, who's done such a good job coaching up Daniels. But That's my thing. I mean, it's a shame the season's getting wasted by just such a bad defense.
And one more before I get you out of here. Florida LSU. What's it look like from a line number?
I'm curious that. So it's interesting. Is Daniels looking like he's going to go from what I'm hearing?
He practiced yesterday, so I think that's a positive sign.
He's playing.
Yeah.
I wonder, there's always that saying, like that week after Bama, sometimes Bama beats you twice. I don't think LSU's going to lose, but Napier's job's on the line, and obviously everybody knows he wanted that LSU job. And in the Florida LSU games historically, like LSU wins, but he has been winning a ton lately, but they're kind of not – you don't see butt kickings that much. I mean, you see kind of wilder games. So I kind of think LSU wins, but I'm not laying the 14. It's kind of my instincts on it.
Mincy, safe travels to Athens over the weekend. Enjoy my morning jacket tonight. What a time to be alive and to be at Barstool, my buddy. Thank you as always.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate y'all.
All right, man. There he is. Benny Betts. Every week.
Benny and the Betts, 2-4 last week.
Just clicks out of the
sometimes he stays longer. Sometimes he cuts himself off.
He's got his own way out.
That's the magic of Benny Mintz.
Burrow with a great quote yesterday asked about what he is claiming, who should claim him as a quarterback, if it was okay for Ohio State to claim him as a quarterback. Burrow fired back and said, I don't know, you should ask them. And then as the reporter was fishing for more, obviously an Ohio native, I thought Burrow just kind of sat him down and shut him up very quick. He said, look, man, this is how I think of it. I went to school at Ohio State. I played football at LSU. That is nuts on your face if you're an Ohio State fan.
Is Ohio State claiming you as a quarterback in the NFL? What's happening?
Give me that.
Give me that.
Give me that, Stewie.
Play my theme song.
Give me that.
No, you have to ask them. I always say I went to school at Ohio State and I played football at LSU. That's how I think about it.
Thank you. So the argument is over.
Did he get to class on time?
Buckeyes, sit down, shut up. He's our football player.
Look at his wrist.
You can have his
every game.
You can have his. You can have his transcript.
GPA.
You can have his transcript. We'll take his football. We'll take his football helmet.
We'll trade. Yeah. You can keep the degree. We'll keep the Heisman.
Well,
fair trade.
Their claim is that he hangs around Ohio State
Sweet.
a lot.
I mean,
but
he's
he
from
plays,
there.
He plays
lives
in
in Cincinnati.
That's what I said too.
I mean,
he plays in Ohio.
If he was a Saint, he'd be at the LSU football ops.
If
what do
he
you want
was
from
a
him?
Saint, he would. The state of Ohio would be in a pretzel because Louisiana would love him so much that he just couldn't be able to get away.
He'd be our son.
Yes, he'd be in just a vice grip of fans' hands.
Have a great day. Hit that like button, share button, comment button. If you have not subscribed, do that on your way out. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. to close out the week.
Hey, Chino. Put my headphones up, bro. Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time. It's the hottest show around, we ain't gotta flex. Call up G, we get it done, we earning our respect. Tell recruits to let us in, where they going next. Throw up the L's, now we lit, band playing neck. From the boot to the east to the west coast. No matter where we at, we live, mic'd up for show. Open up the phone lines, come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show, yeah.